Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale. Up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed, plus free home delivery with the purchase of any smart bed. Ends Monday. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
You buy a pair of socks, that's 2 socks. You buy a pair of Bombas socks, that's 4 socks. Because one purchased is one donated. Socks are the #1 most requested clothing item in homeless shelters. So when you buy a pair of super comfortable Bombas socks, you're also donating a pair. Bombas customers have powered over 150 million donations. So Bombas would like to thank you 150 million times. But we only have like 30 seconds. Go to bombas.com and use code AUDIO for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com and use code AUDIO at checkout.
You're listening to 100 Words or Less with Ray Harkins. Welcome indeed to an episode of this very podcast in which we obsess and deep dive into the details of people who are involved in the independent music world, whether it's punk, hardcore, indie rock, emo, metal. I should probably switch that order up because I tend to do it in the genres that I personally like the most first, but that doesn't mean that I'm obviously not a fan of metal, because clearly I have metal artists come on here. Anyways, I digress, but thank you for spending the time with me, with my guest, and today that guest is Aaron Dalbec. This is a crime against, I don't know, hardcore in general, the fact that I have never had Bane, a member of Bane, on this particular show. I've spoken to them in different iterations of other podcasts that I've done. I've interviewed them over the years and, when I was writing for zines. And when it came down to them being a guest on this show, because they just re-released a series of 7 inches they put out many years ago on a bunch of different record labels. Shout out to 6131 Records that got to release one. My best friend Joey putting that one out there. But they compiled all of those 7 inches to release a new full length, which, it's not new, but it is now packaged up appropriately where you can stream and potentially purchase a vinyl copy on 12-inch of all of those things put together. And it's exciting. But anyways, I got pitched this re-release and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I should. Yeah, let's talk to Aaron. And I was like, oh, I have not had anybody from Bane on. And that's terrible because Bane, talk about a legendary and foundational band. And Aaron was also one of the early members of Converge. And this dude's music has influenced me in a pretty profound way. So I was like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's rectify the mistake that I have made in not being able to appropriately have this conversation on the podcast. So anyways, Aaron Dalbec from Bane. He also plays in Be Well. He also plays in Only Crime. And we talk about all of those things because we got plenty of time here because that's what the world of podcasts is, right? Time. But I'm respectful of it. I'm not going to ever go 2 hours unless it's like the best of year-end pods because those are going to go for like 4 hours. Anyways. You want to get in touch with me, you can email the show 100wordspodcast@gmail.com. Love to receive feedback, guest ideas, wherever's on your brain. If you're, pitching your new music, whatever the case may be, love to receive that. I do my best to respond to all of those in a timely fashion or maybe an untimely fashion. I eventually will get back to you. You can also leave a rating and review on the Spotify page, actually just a rating on that one. Rating and reviews happen on the Apple Podcast page. Trust me, I know every podcast asks you to do that. So if you took like 5 seconds out of your day to do that for this show, and then maybe 1 or 2 other shows that you listen to, it helps out the algorithm be able to recommend this thing to the people who need to hear it. Because after all, like even though I am covering independent music in general, I'm not sticking to just one lane. I'm not just talking to people about hardcore. I'm not talking to people just about indie rock or whatever. So the show paints with a pretty broad brush in regards to music. And I just want to make sure that algorithm catches this thing. And also sharing it on your social media. Like that, of course, helps. But you know that. You're smart. You exist on the internet. Anyways, let's talk about weekly recommendations. I got a link in the show notes to where you can listen to a bunch of records, new, old, everything in between, that will hopefully just get you keyed into some new music. And I know that many of us feel that time where it's just like, dude, I don't know what to listen to. All this stuff gets spit out at me. Like, is it worthwhile? Is it worth spending my time? And I am trying to place a little editorial context around these artists. And then hopefully you'll be able to find something interesting in there, whether it's this recommendation or recommendations that I gave a year ago. Doesn't matter. It's all on the playlist. But this week's recommendation is an artist that I personally have only got into probably the past like 2 or 3 records. Alex G. His new record is called Headlights. It's his first major label debut, so that's like a huge deal. But Alex G, I know that you are familiar with. Maybe you have heard the name. Just a tried and true sort of like quiet indie rock dude. I mean, definitely in the vein of like, Kurt Vile, Elliott Smith has that vibe going on as well. This one truthfully reminds me of more like Death Cab for Cutie, like Plans era. I love it a lot. And like I said before, I only really started to listen to Alex G. It was probably 2018, 2019. I did not get on the early bandwagon, heard his name, Sandy Alex G, before. I was like, okay, looks cool. And just never checked it out in depth. And it wasn't until a couple of those Domino Records releases where I really became enamored with what he was doing. And this record is incredible. It's so good. And I highly recommend, if you have even just had a passing interest in Alex G, this is a perfect place to start. And hopefully you'll be able to find some, quiet / somewhat loud indie rock. I mean, it never gets too aggressive, let's be honest. But it's a really, really well put together record. Very thoughtful. It's still him. I know many people were opining before this record got released. It's like, oh, major label. Like, I don't know, man. Is this still going to capture the magic? And it's like, you know what? Yes. Like, truthfully, this whole dialogue that exists around, artists making big leaps in regards to their business practices, just calm down. It's fine. So anyways, let's talk to Aaron Dalbec from Bane, because like I said, they are re-releasing and formally documenting all of these old 7-inches that were never up on streaming. You could obviously buy a physical copy at some point, but now they have that going on, and you'll be able to listen to that wherever you stream music. And you can also, if I'm not mistaken, I think BaneCentral.com still exists, and you would be able to purchase some of the new, vinyl variants that they have for this. And it's great. It's called 6:58 p.m. Boston, and you'll be able to listen to all of those songs, and it's exciting. So let's talk to Aaron Dalbec right now. A joke that me and my friends, and I know has probably been articulated to you at some point, where in the early to mid 2000s, if you showed up at a show and there wasn't a Bane hoodie present, the show could not start. And so I bring that up just because I think it's one of those things where you probably felt this being on the inside, where it was like, okay, now Bane could be considered like, starter kit hardcore, where it's like, okay, yes, you get Gorilla Biscuits and Minor Threat or whatever. But like for kids that are obviously of a much younger generation, Bane is like, could be their touch point or Half Heart or whatever. How does that sit in your brain to kind of be like, oh, I guess we are, because we've existed for, 20 plus years or what have you. How does that sit? Like, do you even think about that? Or is it just only when people like me ask that?
I don't really think about it. It's still kind of weird to think of it that way. Because to me, we're still just 5 kids that just wanted to play music. And, it's always been the thing with Bane that we don't, I don't want to say we don't care what people think, because we really, we want people to like it, but what Bane was Bane is what it's going to be no matter what. So to think of it as like we're like one of those bands is kind of weird, but at the same time it's extremely humbling for people to say it, especially not people that are just getting into the scene or something, like people have been around for a while. It's pretty humbling to hear that, and have that said. But I've never viewed it that way at all. I've never viewed it that way, which is weird. I mean, I just still think that we're just a band that when we can play shows, great, and it's a good
Right.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, the reason I brought up the, cheeky joke of a Bane hoodie being present at every, a worldwide hardcore show, I think it was like, there is that notion of the, overexposure, as it were. And I'm sure you guys felt that, where it's like, when Bane comes through your city 3 to 4 times in a particular year, and there isn't that much like difference in the fact, like, oh yes, we're maybe touring with different bands or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you guys are going to say yes because like, oh, this is the life that we live now, and we're saying yes to these opportunities. But I'm sure that at some point it felt like, I guess we're playing Biloxi for the third time this year or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we try to not oversaturate ourselves. Like, for example, so like when Bob joined the band, he was in Reach the Sky, and like Reach the Sky played. I think that was not the downfall of them, but like that was what hurt them the most, because they played everything that came to them. Like there was no like, oh, Reach the Sky, or like I feel like Kill Your Idols was that way for a while too. Like, oh, Kill Your Idols is here. Oh, Reach the Sky is here. It's, oh, I don't know, I'll just see him next time. And for a while, Bane did tour a lot and hit a lot of the same places, but I feel like we tried to do it so that wouldn't happen after a while. We heard that point where we're like, you know what, we're only going to do the West Coast maybe twice a year if we have, But then again, it comes back to when we're like, oh, we just want to play shows. So we would just take whatever,
Yeah. Well, and the reason I bring that up, and I find you guys as this really interesting litmus test where bands did turn into something where they could not only consider it their full-time job, but then we're wrestling around with the fact that, like, yes, we're still just hardcore kids in a hardcore band, and like we'll play every show everywhere, like, just that philosophy that's always been you guys, but then having to think about it from the sort of exactly that perspective of like, we need to make more deliberate choices to be, whatever, maybe more professional, even though that was never the intention of what you were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's weird getting older. It was, I mean, not the full reason why we broke up, but, we were getting older, and it was like, 3 of us, I was about to have a kid, 2 people in the band already had a kid or 2 kids. And it was like, okay, we're, almost 40. I was like 39 at the time when we decided to start winding it down. But it was like, we can't keep doing it this way. Like, we can't do it full time, like, because at some point that's all you are going to be able to do, So for us at that point, it was like so many people wanted to do it full time and take everything that we could take, and some of us just couldn't. So that was kind of like why we ended up kind of winding it down.
Right. The dividing line where it's like, we
Yeah.
can't, you physically cannot be present in 2 places when you're just like, yeah, I need to be present in my child's life and not be a delinquent father.
Yeah. But like, I think it's great when like younger bands, for sure, like we did do it for a long time, is you just do everything you can do. I feel like you had to do that for a long time. I don't think it's like that anymore. Like, you used to have to go out and tour for people to get your music, and now it's just like, oh, here's my music library, here's everything that you can possibly hear. Something literally got released yesterday, and all right, I already listened to it 100 times. Not go on tour, sell your 7-inches and demos and get it out everywhere you can. Now it's just like instantaneous, and I don't think bands need to tour as much as they did, which is kind of a shame, but in a weird way, maybe it like makes it a little more special too. Maybe that's like the opposite end of that, of like taking everything. And like you said, like, oh, I'll see him the next time they come around because he'll be here 2-3 times, but maybe that's in a weird way, like this nice kind of double-edged sword of that, like you don't have to do it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's like there's a clear delineation in the way that bands can approach the way that they tour now, where it's like, yeah, you don't, you can be very selective and not just like, oh, I'm better than this. I don't need to spend 200 days in a van, but you can just be like, no, this is more special because you can exist in a life, but then you can also play in a band and have these experiences that people still hold dear and want to show up in a room for.
Exactly. Like what really clicked for me, I think when realizing you didn't have to play so much was when Hot Water started doing a bunch of shows again, and they would just do long weekends, or like the Descendants. I mean, obviously there's a gigantic gap between like that and us, but like, you could, when you get to a certain spot, not even like financially, but just in your life, like you can go and do these like long weekends or, 4 or 5 days, and it's just as good. Like that's, it's almost, it's not quite as satisfying, but it's like just as good,
Yeah, absolutely. Reflecting on your childhood and starting to develop your identity and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to, take you through your bio, so to speak, but you've always struck me as a person that, you want to be involved, but you don't necessarily want to be in the spotlight, if that makes sense, where you're like, okay, like I am the center of attention. Like some people are comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Was that kind of who you were as like, when you were starting to go to high school and be a teenager and everything? Or was that?
Yeah, I was pretty kept to myself a lot through like high school and the teenage years and all that kind of stuff. Like I had my core group of friends, but I was never the kid that was always funny or like wanted to be the center of everything. It's weird at the same time because I mean I've joked about it a lot of times. Like so many people have asked me when I joined Bane, and I'm always like, well, I started the band, like But like,
oh wait, are you the new guy in Bane? Like what?
Yeah,
what are you talking about? Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't help that like when Bane started, I was like the shortest person by like everybody else were like these monsters, and it was me. But everybody's like over 6 feet tall.
Totally. You're like, I'm not, so that's fine.
Yeah. But I never, I don't know. It was just never anything that I really needed, if that makes sense. Like I didn't need to be like, oh, he's the dude from Bane, or he's the dude Converge, or whatever.
Yeah.
It just as long
it's
as
just something you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, especially with that type of personality, that probably made it easier for you to be able to be in, Only Crime, Be Well, like all of the other various projects that you have done and bands you have done. People knew that they could probably rely on you and you wouldn't, suck the oxygen out of the room.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in bands with or been around people that have been like that, and it just is not something fun to be around. You know what I mean? Like you be entertaining for a while, and he's like, "All right, dude, just shut up."
Tone it down. Yeah.
You're in a punk band. You're not in. I don't even know.
Yeah, Motley Crue,
Blink-182 or yeah.
And I know your older sibling was pretty instrumental in like kind of, helping get you introduced to, I guess music and like more independent minded stuff. I mean, I know that there was a lot of different influences, but, what would you say was your sort of, gateway? You're obviously like more of a metal kid initially, right?
Right. I was actually, it wasn't my older brother. My older brother, actually, I just have one sibling, but he's 2 years older than me. He was actually more into like weird, like classic rock. Like I get him into heavier, but I have a cousin who is a little older than me, and he got me into like punk rock and like more metal. And then we found punk rock kind of together. Like he started going to shows a little bit before me, but he started getting me into like the more metal stuff. And, which is really funny because my brother did not actually, it was like, it was opposite. My brother, like, and I got him into like heavy metal and like heavier music, which is really funny. Like I had this old leather jacket from like high school. I had like this big Misfits thing painted on the back, and I like gave it to my brother. I like handed it up to him instead of like, mostly it's like the older brother hands down like these cool things, but like I gave it to my brother. I was like vegetarian, and I was like, I'm not going to wear this anymore. It's leather, and I gave it to my brother.
That's incredible. Yeah, normally it's like hey, younger sibling, here's like the Clash, but you're like, handing up. You're like, hey,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. You like Frank Zappa, but like, here's the Misfits.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm thrilled to welcome Evil Greed back to the show. I mean, truthfully, they haven't left, but what makes it exciting is they are giving you a promo code. They don't do this. So please use the promo code SUBURBS, SUBURBS, and that will get you 10% off your very first order. They stock vinyl, they stock sweaters, shirts, but not from every band, from a very specific point of view. I can guarantee you that you listening to this show, you will like what they have to offer. I don't care if you're into Knock Loose, The Cure, Joy Division, Agriculture. They work in cool, artistic, heavy stuff. That can be emotionally heavy or that can be like heavy. But they also have exclusive colors of vinyl. They have pre-orders going on right now. I love Evil Greed because they just remind me of when I was ordering from, like Victory Records and Revelation, like just being able to get all of the things from one spot, and it makes it so easy. So go to evilgreed.net. They ship worldwide, and us in the United States will just reap the benefits because they ship from Berlin, Germany, and the rates to us are pretty cheap right now. So please use the promo code SUBURBS right now for 10% off of your first order at evilgreed.net. Go shopping and enjoy.
Wherever you go, whatever they get into, from chill time to everyday adventures, protect your dog from parasites with Credelio Quattro. For full safety information, side effects, and warnings, visit CredeliaQuattroLabel.com. Consult your vet or call 1-888-545-5973. Ask your vet for Credelio Quattro and visit QuattroDog.com.
The area that you grew up in and, experienced a lot of your, early musical years was so fertile. I mean, obviously, Merrimack Valley has been, pontificated on for quite some time. And I think, Worcester, as us West Coastians call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where it's like that city often gets overlooked by anybody that exists outside of the Northeast. People are like, oh, yeah, that's like where Metal and Hardcore Festival is, I guess. But what do you think made Worcester special as far as like, was it just kind of the space and it pulled from a lot of different townships, or what do you think helped that?
I mean, it pulled from a lot. It's weird because it's only 30 miles west of Boston, but it was such a like dividing line between the two scenes, I guess you could say. Like people that went to Boston shows very rarely went to shows in Worcester. People from Worcester would go to shows in Boston, but it was like people in Boston never came to Worcester shows really. So it was like this weird like dividing of the scenes. But I think like I started going to shows and like I think I started going in like 80. I think I went to my first show in like 89 or 88. And it was always very diverse there. Always like metal bands, like there would be metal bands that would play with like Eye for an Eye, and then there would be like all this other like you would go to a show at this place called the WAG, and you wouldn't know who was playing. It was just like a metal band, a punk band, whoever. And I think it was just like a cool. I can't even think of a reason why it was so eclectic, but it was just like a group of people that would just always. It was always very accepting. It was like kind of like the stepchild that nobody liked. Like people would always like back in the day, people would always be like, "Oh, that band's from Worcester," they're not going to be good,
Right.
But we had a very, very, very strong scene there for sure.
Yeah.
And there was so many different towns that it pulled from. I think that just like helped it be so diverse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that definitely, I see what you're talking about in regards to the dividing line between, the big city and the burbs, where it was such a, like you can see where it's like the townies are obviously just going to stick to Boston and that area.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would I drive 45 minutes to go to a show? Like, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And like in Worcester, at least, I feel like in Worcester, there wasn't any like, I mean, obviously bands came there, like there were a lot of bigger bands that would go there, but I feel like it wasn't like a big city where you heard these bands, you're like, oh, this band is big or this band is cool. I'm gonna try to sound like these. Like I feel like people kind of like nurtured their own creativity there a little bit more. I don't know. I could be
Hmm.
completely wrong, but that's just kind of how I saw it. You know?
Yeah. Well, and probably on that point, you were left to your own devices because you had far less influence from, Boston. Like, yes, like you said, bands could come through and stuff, but you guys were just like ping ponging off of each other to be like, oh yeah, like here's this weird band combined with this weird band, and then this is
Yeah.
what the scene is.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
When you first started to, get out there with, Converge and start to play shows, I mean, I know like Converge, I mean, just following like the early years of Converge, I know it was always like a head spinner for me just to be like, what the heck, like listening to the first 7-inch where I'm just like, this thing is so terrible. How did they turn it into something like,
I was not on
and
that 7-inch. I was not on that 7-inch. I was not on the Biohazard 7-inch.
Yeah, and I say terrible in a very lovingly way but like it is just weird for people like myself who are on the West Coast, like trying to digest the band's output and then becoming obsessed with it and being like, trying to contextualize it where it's like, why is this their first 7-inch? Like normally you're just a bad punk band or whatever. Anyways, I bring all that up to be like, when, you started to feel like you were, for lack of a better term, like onto something where it's like, oh, people, are starting to gravitate towards what it is that we're doing. I'm guessing it was around the petitioning era for you to feel like it's
Yeah.
like, oh, wow.
I mean, New England, like when we put out the Halo and Haystack LP, which was what became Carrying and Killing, Halo and Haystack LP, what became kind of the Carrying and Killing CD. When we put out the LP, it started to catch on a little bit, like in New England.
Mm-hmm.
But once petitioning came out, that kind of like opened it up a bit. But still, even then, I mean, we did well, but I don't think really Converge really got big till right before Jane Doe came out, and then it started getting good. So
Right. Yeah. Then it started to really, I definitely remember, I absolutely failed a biology final to see you guys and Today's the Day play at Showcase Theater in Corona. But it definitely felt, and I'm sure you experienced this, not only with Converge, but with Bane, where it's like, you have these certain moments that feel like coming out moments where it's like,
yeah,
oh, wow, like, okay, this feels different in this city because of this show or whatever.
yeah, yeah. That actually, that's really funny that you said that the showcase is one of the moments for Bane was playing the showcase, playing the Rev. We played the Rev showcase there in '98.
That sounds about right. With Better
So it
Than
was a
1,000.
Saves the Day.
Yep.
Yeah. And Avenged Sevenfold opened up and it was terrible.
Right.
But we drove from Portland, Oregon, no day off, drove from Portland to play that show. And that was like it was like kind of like a whoa, definitely a whoa, this is crazy moment for us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I pull out those specific things is I just find that so special for bands when they do feel like it's this show that they're able to feel like they've accomplished something, feel like they captured a city's attention or whatever. It's just like, those are the things that people carry on with them, very much like a, high school football game, throwing the touchdown or whatever. It's like, oh, I remember that. I remember that showcase show.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That was great.
You've always, yeah. Oh, I mean, it's such a random spot, but that's like what every venue is ever.
Yeah, exactly.
You've always struck me as what I would define as a working class musician, in the fact that like you are, like, in my estimation, like you are good at guitar, but you are not again, kind of maybe mimicking your personality. You're not like, guys, check out all of these solos and like how crazy these time signatures are. It seems like you are you're focused on being able to yes, push yourself from a talent perspective, but then also be like, well, I want to, deliver the point of the song or whatever. Would you, I guess, agree with that typification or push hard against that?
I don't know. I'm definitely not like a solo guy. I've never liked solos. But like, kind of just like, I don't even know. That's a weird question. I'm definitely not like a flashy guy at all, at all. Like personality or playing at all. Um, but I don't think I would, I don't know. Because I always try to push the boundaries, I guess, but not
Right.
in like a weird flashy way. Not like in a, hey guys, I got this new song and have it sound like Dillinger Escape Plan or something. Like,
Right.
so
Yeah, you're not a masturbatory guitar player where it's like, look at me. It's like,
right. I play when I write what I write. I don't write to make it be like, well, I'm gonna make this be crazy. I just write what just comes out. That makes sense. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
right.
Yeah.
There's effort put into the songwriting, but there's not the effort to shine the spotlight on like, this is really going to showcase my musicianship or
Right.
whatever. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Because it's 5 people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah.
Right. And kind of on that topic too, like when you started to, tour and start to be, not only active in Converge, but then in Bane as well. I mean, I know you like at that point you were older and you obviously already had like been doing it for a while. How are your parents reacting to you exploring this life that they were just like, I imagine they didn't have any real understanding of what you were doing?
Well, I graduated high school, started touring.
Right.
I went on tour with that band Deltonic, and the van died in Vegas. So we're all called our parents and we're like, hey, can you wire us money? And it was like, can you wire us money or else we're just going to move to California because we're going to just have to turn around and take buses to California. We're going to live there. And they were pretty supportive of the music stuff for sure. But going back to the like aha moment kind of thing, like my dad had never seen, my mom I think had seen me play 1 or 2 times, but my dad came out to see me play with Bane at the It All Comes Down to This record release party, and it was at the Space in Worcester. And I think from that point on, he kind of like got it. He was like,
Sure.
"Oh, this is why you do it," And now it's like, I mean, to this day, if we play in Massachusetts, my parents can still come out. They love it.
That's awesome.
Like
That's really cool.
It took a little. I mean, I started touring in '92, I think it was, and so it took a little bit, like. But I mean, they knew that's what I wanted to do, Like, I'm lucky I had I had an older brother that went to college, and after half a year, he was like, "This isn't for me." So he had already done like the no college thing. So I didn't end up going to college at all. I just started touring, and that was it.
Right.
It took a while.
Sure. Were there any hopes of you continuing to carry on in any sort of like family business or like, trying to take up their professions? There was no pressure on that side?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah.
No.
That's good. Cause I think there's always that weird notion. I mean, especially as a kid, like you don't know what you're doing for many of those years. And usually kids are just like, oh yeah, I guess I'll be what my parents are or whatever. And then like, they're like, no, this sucks. And then you start to experience music and it's game over.
Yeah. Like my mom, I mean, she used to play the piano. I mean, she just played through her childhood and through high school. And that's where I think I probably got like my love for music, I guess. But, yeah, I've always loved music too. So I think they kind of, I don't want to say expected it, but they weren't, when it came about, it wasn't like a shock, Like I called them, I was like, I'm going to go on tour for the first time. Like, okay. They're
like, all right, just call us to let you know you're okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In looking at when you had to make that decision, obviously, to, remove yourself from Converge because of the way that things were going for you, like you could not physically keep up with being in 2 places at once. And that aspect of being able to, I always liked how Bane was obviously for many years viewed as the side project. And it was like, oh, this is the Converge side project.
Yeah.
I always love that statement. So like when you started to, develop your own identity outside of the context of Converge, like, was that a, weird, not switch, but like for people to recognize that like this was the pursuit now and not just like, oh yeah, you're just kind of doing this on the side.
No, it wasn't that weird at all. Actually, I mean, from that perspective, I don't think it was really weird at all. Um, I mean, the whole situation was really weird, but that
Sure.
wasn't really. I honestly, I feel like people were like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." You know,
Right.
it wasn't
Yeah.
really. I never. Bane kind of always had its own identity anyway. Like, I mean, maybe some people viewed it as like, oh, the Convert side project kind of thing, but we never thought of it that way. It was kind of like, again, like I said before, we always just did what we wanted to do, and we really care what people thought, and like not in a
Hmm.
shitty way, but just like we're gonna play this stuff, and if people like it, cool, you know. And
Yeah.
it just and honestly, when the Converge stuff happened, it just kind of opened up some more doors, like we could do more stuff. Um, it wouldn't have the Converge stuff wasn't me leaving to focus on Bane. It was a shitty situation. We won't go too far, but it was a shitty situation, and I was asked to make the decision, and the decision was made for me. Um, the the Bane family was always like, Converge is your priority. If Converge has something's going on, then we just won't do stuff. And so in reality, I don't think it ever really would have mattered much. Just Bane wouldn't have played as much, you
Right.
know? So
The writing was on the wall once you were pushed into a corner to be like, oh, okay, yes, like Bane
yeah,
is here. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm and
Yeah.
and I'm still like, to this day, I'm so happy with the decision that was made. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, because I think it would have felt incredibly, I mean, in retrospect, it would have felt incredibly weird for either of those bands to like not have the output that they did.
Yeah.
Like it would have just been weird for it's like, oh yeah, Bane was just a couple 7 inches and that's it. Or like, Converge ended after, Poacher Diaries or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
that would have
Yeah.
felt weird.
Yeah.
Uh, when Bane started to, have the implications and probably offers as far as like, hey, like working with different record labels and like, hey, here's a manager. And like, I know you guys obviously had a booking agent, the, sort of music industry starting to, coalesce around the idea of hardcore. Um, did you guys have to like wrestle around with the industry that much, or did you keep it pretty insular on purpose because you really wanted to make those decisions yourselves?
We just wanted, well, first off, Bane is the most, I don't want to say most unorganized, but we're the most, not, not lazy, but
Sure.
just
Okay.
like we fly by the seat of our pants so much.
Okay.
Like legitimately, okay, for example, just fast forwarding a little bit, we did this 10 for 10 tour in 2000.
I am so glad you brought up this 10 for 10 tour because it lives in my brain rent free as far as like how that went. But continue. Yeah.
whatever year that was, to my concept of time is terrible.
Yeah.
We show up to the first show, I believe it was Atlanta, Georgia. We literally pulled up with the van and the trailer. The tour manager for the tour comes running out. He's like, literally just like hold his head. He's sweating. He's like, it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the show started at 2. And he's like, "Where have you guys been? Blah 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 blah." We're like, "What time do we go on?" He's like, "You go on to like," I'm just throwing numbers out. You go on at 10. You go on after so and so. Like, all right, we'll see you at 7:30. We drove away, and we got back there that night. And we're like, "Look, we will never be late for our set, but we're not showing up 3 hours before the show starts with 10 bands." Like it's just the MO. Like Bane always is late. Like we have a joke that it's Bane time. Like we just like
Okay.
we'll just show up. Like we'll be stuck in a hotel watching Law and Order. Like, and then we'll just go to the mall and go eat lunch and like do whatever.
Right.
But yeah,
But you'll be there.
but,
Right. Right. Right.
but we'll be
Yeah.
there. We'll be there. We're not going to miss the show. We may show up right before we play and set up merch while we're setting up, but we will be there.
Right.
It has been better since we started playing again. That's for sure.
Sure. Well, I mean, you're adults now, right?
We were adults then too.
That's true. That's true.
We were adults then too. But go back. Sorry, go back to that. Like managers and like all that. We never had a manager because it's just like one, we wanted to keep it up with ourselves. Like we always worked with it. Like me, Pete, Zach, Bob when he joined the band. Like we kind of coordinated all the tours and like what we could do, what we couldn't do, and EVR just always treated us great. Like Steve Reddy always jokes, he's like, they're the last band that I ever signed. Because Dan Sandshaw does everything now, really. But we're the last band that Steve Reddy signed to Equal Vision. And he's always just like, I mean, there was one, legitimately, the axle for our trailer broke on Easter Sunday on a tour. And I called up Steve and he's like, yeah, I'll wire you guys some money to get a new trailer if you need it. And he ended like loaned us the money to get the trailer and on Easter Sunday.
There you go.
You know?
That's incredible. Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
we never fell for any of that. I don't want to say we never fell for it because it could have been that who knows what the outcome would have been, but we just never did any of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's like you got, and truthfully, it's like you could, a lot of the reasons that people end up working with management or whatever, it's like they're just not capable of handling certain things. And so when you guys can keep it, in the house, then so be it. I love rockabilia.com and so should you for a multitude of reasons. One, the fact they give us a discount code. That means you get 10% off your entire order. And that is an incredible thing because basically if you're buying $100 worth of stuff, you're getting $10 off just because you are awesome and you are a listener of this podcast. Rockabilia traffics in all of the latest and greatest in band merch, whether it's hardcore, mainstream rock, metal, hip hop. I don't care what you're into. They have it all and it's officially licensed and they are going so deep in regards to the type of items that you can potentially get, whether it's water bottles, whether it's vinyl, whether it's hockey jerseys. I don't care what you're into. If you go to rockabilia.com, I can guarantee you will find something to purchase. My son has been deep diving into classic rock and when I showed him rockabilia.com, his brain melted in the best way possible. And I love it because Rockabilia pays the artists. They also keep this independent music thing alive by making sure that all of this is above the board and ultimately ships to you in a quick fashion. They hit you from their warehouse. I was going to say office. That doesn't count. Their warehouse in Minneapolis, and it ships all over the world, and it's a great company. So wholeheartedly endorse them. Promo code is 100 words or less. 10% off your entire order. Do it now. When you started to, have that global impact as well, like once you guys, you made it a mission of yours to like try to, play literally every continent you could potentially play, and start to kind of recognize how most likely, like the internet changed the way that music was distributed. And you guys were, probably playing shows in Jakarta where it's just like, why are 300 people here? This is insane. Talk to me about some of those, experiences of things where you're like, I know this will be cool and this will be an experience, but like, this outshined any of my expectations in regards to like those far-flung places where you guys did find yourself going.
I mean, Southeast Asia is pretty insane. It's funny you said Jakarta too, because it's just like some of those shows where you just sit there and be like, this is like when you're younger and you have demo tapes and 7 inches and stuff, and you would literally get letters from like Indonesia, Singapore, like all these, and you're like, or like it'd be like, please send me your demo. It'd be like a handwritten letter with like an envelope put in there for you to, and you're like, this is crazy. Like, is this real, And then finally getting there, like, 20 something years later and having the shows be insane. It's just very, very, I keep saying it, but it's like humbling and just like, this is fucking crazy. Like,
right.
We're in Jakarta or we played a show where was it? In the Philippines. We played someplace the night before, forgive me, I can't remember that, but we literally landed in the Philippines, They picked us up like 10 o'clock at night at the airport, took a bus, went to this festival. We headlined the festival, a festival, but it was like this town had this giant show, and it was probably like 3,000 people there. Literally escorted to the stage, played the show, escorted back out, ate food, changed, and went back to the airport. And we get to the airport, like, what did we just do? That was crazy, and it was an absolutely insane show.
Right.
It was insane. Or like we just went back to South America in the summer or the fall. We played in like Santiago, Chile, and it was absolutely insane. We're just like, you go to these places and I mean, obviously there's huge hardcore scenes there, but it's just very eye opening to be just like, we're real fucking lucky. You know what I mean?
Right. To get airdropped into a situation and be like, wow, like, I mean, that point of being in a far flung place that has a scene, like you're excited to play a show regardless, but then to see the outpouring of gratefulness of being like, thank you, Bane, for coming here. And you're just like, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Or
you're here.
We played in the first time we went to Southeast Asia, we went to China, and the guy was like, you know, everything will be paid for. You're not going to make any money, but all the expenses. We're like, cool. We got to go to China. Awesome. You know, so we like went and played we like literally went up, walked around the Great Wall of China, like had a crazy fun experience. Our whole bass player Sue was puked over the side of the Great Wall of China. And then we went and played the show, and there's literally like seats. There's like maybe 30 people there. And we played, and we were like, this is a fucking amazing day.
Right.
But, you know, it's like, just you're in China. Like,
right.
So it didn't matter if there was like 700 kids or like 30 kids sitting in seats. It did, you know, it was still awesome, you know?
Right.
It's just
You're like my dumb band brought me to China? What? Yeah. This doesn't make sense.
My stupid punk band who like, you know.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. When I know people and you have articulated this response in other places of just being like, oh yeah, Bane obviously does like what we do, and like we don't, you know, necessarily like care about what's happening on the outside. You know, people clearly make the jokes of just like, oh, here's Bane's, you know, 15th return and whatever, like all of those, you know, the internet provocateurs that say that stuff. I realize that it's important for you guys to not only just like, yes, like we want to be as active as we can be, and we want to continue to like not be relevant, but, and I mean that in a good way. Like, you know, you're not trying to be like, you know, the idea of like taking up space, of being like, okay, because we exist, like another band can't exist or whatever. Like that obviously doesn't happen. But I'm sure there's like a deliberateness in wanting to, you know, be out there, but not like be so out there in the way that you guys obviously were in the past. When you started to make that, you know, return, so to speak, were, you know, what thoughts were you guys going through in regards to make sure that you were obviously like keeping what Bane is intact, as opposed to like, you know, being some, you know, purely nostalgia band?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I 100%, it sucks, but like, I don't want to say credit, because that is a terrible way to put it, but like, I think if Stu wouldn't have gotten sick and passed away, this would never have happened. Like when Bane broke up, we were going to be like, there was no, like, that was it.
Yep.
You know? And then when he got sick, we definitely reassessed a lot of things, you know, and it makes you really think about things. And like when Bane broke up, it wasn't a typical band breaking up. We didn't dislike each other. We loved each other. It was like one of the best, like we're literally everybody that was in the band so when Stu got sick, everybody that had ever been in the band, except for Damon, our original drummer that nobody talks to, like everybody still got together and hung out, and we'd have cookouts, and it was like we were almost closer. Everybody, Nick, Pete, Chris Linkovich, like everybody was there. And it was like we were closer now than we had ever been, you know? So it was like when we decided to play shows again, we were just like, we all miss it. Like, this is stupid. Were we nervous as hell? Yes. Do we think we were going to like tarnish something? Yeah. But then like we played those 2 Boston shows, and when they sold out so quickly, we were like, Like we did one, and the dude with the show was like, "Well, let's just have another one just in case." And we're like, "The first one's not going to sell it, dude." And it sold out. We're like, "This is fucking crazy,"
Right.
And then when we decided to do more shows, we're like, "All right, we'll do what we want to do, and if it's 3 shows a year, it's 3 shows a year. Like it doesn't matter, you know." Because we realize that it's not going to go forever. Like nobody, you don't live forever, So why would we live our lives regretting not playing these shows when we all want to do it, And it for all those internet dorks out there, like you said, that say that like we've said it's a lot. People just don't know how to read anymore because we never, until our last show in Worcester, we never said this is our last show ever. We would supposed to be like, this is our last Europe tour when it was the last Europe tour, or this is the final Japan tour when it was the last Japan. But we never said this is our last show. People may have said that. Other people may have said that. But Bane has never, like, legitimately, when Bane did our last shows, Bedard didn't even want to say it was our last show because he didn't want to make a big deal out of it.
Right.
Like,
yeah, that was not the point. It's right.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. But
yeah,
I'm veering off the path a little bit here, but
no. But I think it's I mean, the reason I wanted to talk about it was because I think it's important because, I mean, especially what you said, like we all wanted to do it. I think there's this, this litmus test that exists now within the context of punk and hardcore, where it's like, because it's gotten so big and so many people have different thoughts about what hardcore should be versus what it shouldn't be. I mean, it was obviously like that in the 90s as well, but like now it's gotten even more blown out.
Yeah.
But just that articulation of what you said, where it's like, we wanted to do it, so we did it. And like, that's simply put, like, you don't really need to think more about that because that's really what you are going to, take with you, as opposed to like, you know what, I'm really glad we didn't do it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like I was talking to a few friends before the Boston shows, and it's like, it's hard when you hear like the few people, like, in the reality of the few people that are shitty about it are very few and far between compared to the people like, and they were saying like, okay, there's maybe you read 10, 15 comments, but there's 6,000 people at the Roadrunner between the 2 nights. Like,
right.
Having the time of their life, having a great time, and are so as well as us. Like, we were probably the most thankful people there. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah.
Well, and it's the importance of like bands that are able to carry on, the like a message or a legacy. Like, I think many people start to feel very, protective about their scene when it's like, a band is coming back and like has been so disconnected from everything. It's just like, oh, like, where were you the past 20 years or whatever? But it's like, you guys have always been a part of something, broadly speaking.
Yeah.
So
like
that's, yeah.
Yeah. Like Zach and I have talked a bunch about it, and he was nervous about us playing shows again. And like, I still honestly don't know if we'll ever write any more music, but he was always like, well, I don't want to be like so-and-so or, this band or that band. And I'm like, those people in those bands haven't been active for 20 years. Like, everybody in Bane has been active in other bands since Bane broke up. So it's not like we just like disappeared for 20 years. Then we're like, oh, hey, or, 7 years, but still, it's like,
right.
We've been involved.
You've been around.
In some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. How, speaking of that, like the experience that you've had with Be Well being not thrown, like you obviously chose to, play with them as they graciously asked you to play bass. But like being able to, create with people who you've admired their work, you've been close with, and also have obviously been in the trenches. How would you compare and contrast like the experience of that versus, Bane, which obviously is a whole different ball of wax as far as your family is concerned?
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's definitely different. It was weird because like last time I played bass was, I think, on the Bane demo in '95. So it was a little weird. I'm actually playing guitar. I'm playing guitar in B-Well now, thankfully.
Okay.
But it was it was great. It's great. I mean, to have Brian Abassett to ask me to do that, it's totally different ball can of worms, because Brian is endlessly creative and he writes the majority of the B-Well stuff, like the core of it, because he'll sit there and just write all day long. So it's definitely a different world coming from Bane, where it's like I'll write a bunch of the Bane stuff and then we'll all write together, or Zach will come in with some parts and we'll write together or whatever. And Brian is like, I wrote this new song. And it's like, it's weird learning somebody else's song.
Sure.
If that makes sense. As opposed to like something like was created together, or like, but it's definitely a different world, but it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, he's handing in the homework 90% complete, and you're just like, oh, cool.
Yeah. I've said it a few times too, is I feel so lucky that I've worked not only like recording, but recorded with probably two of the best producers in my eyes, like Brian and Bill Stevenson. And then I get to be in a band with them too. It's pretty crazy. Like, if you asked 14-year-old me if I'd ever be in a band with Bill, I'd be like, what, are you fucking crazy?
No way. I can't even be in the same stage as that guy. Like standing side stage, maybe. That's about it.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's pretty great with people.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I know you've spoken about this in, different iterations of, integrating back into, quote unquote, real life, as it were, where it was just like, not playing any shows for, an extended period of time, not touring and stuff like that. And I know you obviously have a job that allows you to, have the extended weekends with Bane and stuff like that. The difficulty in transitioning between those two things, I'm sure, was vast. And like, was it more rooted in the identity of it, or was it rooted more in just like the simple activity of being creative, or was it both?
I think it was kind of both. I mean, I had realized, like, so when Bane's last show happened in 2016, I didn't pick up my guitar again till 2019, maybe. I literally didn't even touch my guitar for 3 years. It was like this weird, like, almost like PTSD. Like, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pick up my guitar. And then I had realized at that point that, like, I had been playing music since I had been playing shows since I was in high school. Like, I played my first show when I think I was a sophomore in high school. So I've been playing music and creating things and like playing shows for 30 plus years. Like, so when it stopped, I was like, oh, like,
who am I?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. And it was like, almost, it's like, as cheesy as it is, it's like therapeutic. Like, playing music and playing shows is super therapeutic. And when you don't have that, it's a really harsh reality. Like I was after when Bane stopped with my job, my job was the job I have now, they're based outside of Chicago. And I used to go out there every 3 months. And the other guitar player from Only Crime, he would go out there for his job. And then we'd meet up every now and then. This is super dark, and it's like terrible to say. But like, in like 2018, I was like, went up to him, I was like, fuck. I was like, he's like, how you doing? Blah, blah. I was like, it just sucks not playing shows. And I was like, I kind of realize how like some people, like when like older musicians, when they're done, they're just done. And then they're like,
they
drink themselves to death, or and it's like, if you've only, especially like these old, like bands that have been around for 40 years, touring for 40, 50 years. And then when they're done, they're just like, I'm done. Like, that's the only thing you've known your whole life. It's like a hard change,
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
I thought that when Bane ended, I thought I would have it the easiest out of everybody, because like I was about that. I would, like, my son was born, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And it's just, all this change was not the easiest for sure.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. The last thing I want to hit on, and this is kind of putting you on the spot, and I apologize, but there's no wrong answers here, so you'll be fine.
No.
You'll be fine. The something I've always been fascinated with the the Northeast as well is like there are these bands like you actually mentioned, Eye for an Eye, where it's like there's these bands that, and I know every band has like their local hometown heroes or whatever, but I think the Northeast in particular has these bands that like loom so large where it's just like now people sort of know the name Sam Black Church or whatever, but it's just like there's certain bands where it's like, yeah, dude, in Boston they play to like 1,700 people, and you're just like, have they ever played outside of Boston? You're like, no, why would they?
Yeah, exactly.
So I just use those two as random examples, and you can obviously use them in this. But build me a Mount Rushmore of those. It doesn't have to be obviously Boston. It can be kind of the greater Northeast, as it were. Bands in your mind that kind of like fit that bill, even if they did, break out a little bit from that area, but those bands that, for you were important to be like, this was really, special for me to see, even though maybe no one cared or whatever. Like, you can frame it however you want, but that's the sort of prompt I'm giving you.
Well,
and like I said, there's no wrong answers.
One is definitely Eye for an Eye.
Yes.
For sure. Dive.
Oh, good call.
Is phenomenal. Which is amazing that two of the people in that band are now in Dropkick Murphys.
Right.
It's like crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. This is a hard one. Overcast.
Sure.
Overcast is pretty fucking great. But they definitely
absolutely
they did well outside of Massachusetts, but not great.
Right. Yeah. They definitely had their, like, I think of a band like them where it's like you can explain to people whether it was like, because I definitely saw them in California, and like you said, it was good. It was a well-attended show, but it was like Overcast, Disembodied, and Shai Hulud. So you're just like, oh yeah, it's a banger of a show and a banger of a tour. Yeah. So of course there's going to be people there. But then you would be like, oh yeah, Overcast, and anywhere in the Northeast, you'd be like, oh yeah, 500 people. It's like, this is just exactly what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And there's also a few bands that I don't know, like now. Like there's like those like time machine bands where like if I went back now, would I like them? But there is like Kingpin, from
yeah.
Arise.
I've just heard. I never listened to them, but I'm aware.
Their stuff is on Bandcamp now, actually, which is great.
Yeah.
And there was another old Boston band called Said and Done, and they did 1 7-inch that was on Suburban Voice, I think, and that's it. But I used to love them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think like those are probably the bands that are like from the Northeast that if I like almost like only things that bands from that area that like probably aren't. They're like the lesser known bands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Anytime they would play around, like you would go. You know what I mean? Like no matter what it was, you would go to the shows. But they would play like Massachusetts like 3-4 times a month. Like every one of those bands. But you just go.
They could go on a Massachusetts tour. They're like, yeah, we're doing 12 dates all around Massachusetts.
Yeah. Well, and they could play Boston one weekend and Worcester another. Like is like what I was saying. Like people that lived in Boston didn't go to Worcester, so they could play a Boston show and then a Worcester show, and it didn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
and back then there was no train either, so for going to Worcester, so it was far.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very deliberate trip out there. Yeah.
Exactly.
There we go. That was Mr. Aaron Dalbec, and shout out to him. Shout out to his wife, Sarah, who is an old friend of mine, and I love the fact that they're together. And shout out to his publicist as well, Tito. Love Tito. Always super, super awesome to work with. And I want to give credit to where credit is due because, truthfully, the PR people that are behind a lot of these things and getting it on your radar, they do some work that never gets recognized. So that is what we have for this week. And next week is, of course, another great conversation. This one is a deeper cut, but I was excited to have it. His name is Taylor McLam. He played towards the last couple of years of Orange 9mm. He also played in Fountainhead, which was a foundational band in the like Doghouse Records, like sort of emotive hardcore scene. And Taylor was just presented to me, and I was like, you know what? I would love to dig into Orange 9mm and his experience with that. And Fountainhead as well. So he also is an interesting person because he's been writing music for commercials for many, many years. And we get into all of that. So that's what we have next week. Taylor McLam from Orange 9mm and Fountainhead. So until then, please be safe, everybody.